colleagues. I'm going to present a little reflection only on the Sonjo program based on what I'm hearing and what I've heard about it. And on the basis of that, I'm thinking about all my work is around the whole idea of value. Why do we value what we value? And so from that value lens, how come Sonjo is providing value to all the participants that are engaging in it and beyond, and why it is successful as it is, and then a reflection on how can we make it even more successful for the future? How can we make it stick? Because many a times, one of the problems, in a way, what Sabu was just mentioning, if you remember, that he went to London and what he found was people were not wearing masks anymore. So community solutions to get them to actually stick for a long period of time is extremely difficult. And so how do we create value to make them stick is what I want to talk about. And I want to provide some reflection. Now, Paurav, you have done such amazing work. So in some ways, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, my Lord, without any funds, you have done this. Wow to that. And that's why some of these reflections may come as, half baked, but we would love to have this chat with you. And potentially, both ways, in a way, we will learn from the initiative and we will be able to provide some sort of help in that regard. And we would be more than happy to do that. So with that in mind, I would just also suggest people, colleagues who are joining this call, many of you would want to connect with me. And there are a number of ways you can connect with me. And particularly in my last visit to Indonesia, I realized how popular Instagram is. And hence, I've also added the Instagram here in the social connections list. I also just am reflecting that my last international visit was actually to Yogyakarta. And in Jogja, we had such amazing time with the UGM colleagues. And I'm looking forward to hopefully visit Jogja again and provide further collaborative opportunities at both ends for Southampton as well as UGM. So without further ado, let me try and talk to you about why communities become successful. And there are three major reasons. In a way, this is our work on value. And one of my co-authors is actually with us right now, Joyce Singh, who has joined this call. And there are three particular fundamental values that drive success. The first being the functional value. So when a person sees that what kind of physical attributes this community has, what is this community trying to do functionally? Is it trying to make lives better? Is it trying to make things better? What are the physical attributes of this community? And so choosing of WhatsApp, I think, was a very powerful message to people that this is one, free, and secondly, it is available to everyone. So it is not, it is not unequal. It's an equality-based community. It is a democratized community. And I think that functional attribute was a very important aspect of Sonjo. The second aspect, and I was so fascinated by hearing about one of the talk about, Pak Gumi in regards to the whole idea about entrepreneurship. The experience that was provided and that experiential value that was created. What experiences does this community offer in terms of, community spirit itself? And that is so important. When these experiential values are there, people would tend to engage more. And when Paurav presented the idea of, those, and my pronunciation would be very bad, so I'm not going to do that. But in terms of, the incentives to people to engage, and those incentives created experiences. When people could see that something was happening to somebody, and this could happen to them also, that experiential trigger would lead people to engage more with it. So it is not just because by nature we are not altruistic. We human beings have this selfish gene inside of us. And we would first want to see what's in it for me. When we start seeing these experiences, they allow us to create value. So that was another very, very fundamental mechanism that led to this community engagement. And the third thing is this symbolism. When my friends are doing it, I will do it too. This is very important to us. And I think in Indonesia, we have seen it already. I come from India. I've seen this type of initiatives in India, and I've seen that when others who I feel are important, and especially when university academics who are seen in such high regard are engaging with this, I should also engage with it because it would be a noble cause. And so that is another powerful other directed symbolism that has driven this whole initiative. And I think thereafter, when all of this is happening, what does this community mean to me comes the question. That is self-directed symbolism. And people will continue to engage. So one of my first reflection for this to become a very successful future engagement is that we continue this functional, experiential, and other symbolic aspects. But at the same time, we start making people feel this self-directed symbolism. Inside of them, they feel, in a way, Pakrimavan, you are doing it. Why these UGM colleagues are doing it? Because you have this innate need to serve the community. Now, that does not come naturally to most people. And so the point here is how do we make it natural for people? And at that point in time, by itself, it will become a social innovation that would stick. As in terms, it will not float away and go away into the history, becomes a case study and that's about it. And so this is my first particular point, that how do we create that wherein it becomes a part of the community in such a way that people start saying it, this is my duty to do this. And so it's very important. A second part I'm talking about is this work Jai and I again are doing right now with Benedetta Casafali at Birkbeck. And wherein we are looking at, we have seen plethora of CSR, what we call corporate social responsibility or community social responsibility, however you want to put it, CSR initiatives globally. We are right now analyzing them, and we think we have found a very interesting typology around this. So I want to present this typology and make one more point in regards to this reflection on Sonjo. The first thing I'm thinking about right now, because a point very early in the first presentation Pakrimawan mentioned was the philanthropic nature of the activity. This was a resource hungry activity, but it was done for free. Because again, a free platform like WhatsApp was available, so people were able to do it. But it was very much philanthropic. Currently, the activity looks pretty, while it is strategic in your minds, but to a participant, it would look very ad hoc. And its resource alignment is very low because different activities are being done with a greater community engagement, but there needs to be a very clear direction, a mission that people can buy into. And I think that would drive this whole activity from a philanthropic CSR to a social innovation CSR. And I think that is where it will become sticky. That is where it will become a permanent solution within Jogja region, and then potentially across Indonesia, and who knows, globally. So I think this initiative has a tremendous value. I'm looking at it from, when Michael was presenting the idea on West Africa, and I'm thinking about Southern Africa, and when M-Pesa system emerged from South Africa, and then it became such a solution, and how many new solutions have emerged on the top of M-Pesa system, is that one innovation has led to a complete set of innovations, and those are sticky in nature. So in some sense, community ownership, but at the same time, it has to be seen from a social innovation rather than a philanthropy perspective. And I think from that perspective, when Professor Padmadas mentioned that, at Southampton, we would like to continue working with us, and we would like to find ways in which we can try and find implementable resources, potentially grant funding, and then build more onto it, would provide us tremendous scope for making this sticky. So with that in mind, I'm just going to give a few pointers right now for, as I see from my perspective, for Sonjo. And I think it's a very, very successful initiative. And my God, I can't say how wowed I am right now with regard to the work that you have done. But think about these value systems, this value orientation. What kind of value is really driving this community engagement? And how can we continuously pin on that? And then let's try not to withdraw the community engagement spend, else then the survival depends on it. But neither it has to, this community engagement spend has to be made. And from a final reflection perspective, it is worth thinking more strategically now with this initiative and increase its share of voice. What, Ibu earlier presented, wherein, community engagement, how can we build that within the community to feel that it is their own duty to do it? It is their own part of identity to do it. And obviously we'll have to think about those value generation activities. So I'll stop here. I think I've talked quite a bit, but I hope I have provided some reflection in terms of how Sonjo looks from an outsider perspective and how it can be made sticky and social forever. Thank you all very much.